On Friday, Boris Johnson and his chief negotiator, Lord Frost, firmly and comprehensively showed the European Union they would not capitulate and sign away British sovereignty to its waters, or governance, to the bureaucrats across the Channel. The Prime Minister's statement to the nation read, "As far as I can see, they've abandoned the idea of a free trade deal. There doesn't seem to be any progress coming from Brussels. So what we're saying to them is only come here, come to us, if there's some fundamental change of approach. Otherwise we're more than happy to talk about the practicalities that I described, the social security issues, road haulage and so on. But unless there's a fundamental change of approach, we're going to go for the Australia solution." His spokesman further toughening up the rhetoric later in the day, saying, "The trade talks are over. The EU have effectively ended them yesterday, when they said they did not want to change their negotiating position. So what next for further negotiations? Well, despite Lord Frost telling Michel Barnier not to bother travelling to London on Monday, negotiations will continue in the background. Barnier will be on the first Eurostar out of Paris. Boris has moved the emphasis back on the EU, and after the Commission said they would not alter their position on fisheries and level playing field, the bloc is in desperate need of a deal for any future growth. It's now up to them to offer the olive branch, and especially Macron, whose persistent stubbornness over the status quo on fisheries has been the wall that held back furthering an agreement. Macron is coming under increasing pressure to back down from his demands, but with re-election looming in 2022, and increasing anti-Europe sentiment back home, it will be a slow process. The intervention of his closest European ally, Angela Merkel, may well mean the difference between deal and no deal. Merkel has her own reasons to establish a free trade deal with the UK. It's financially great to manufacture goods, providing you can sell them. The problems start when demand slides, and demand was already sliding before COVID. Germany and France were in recession, in practical terms, in March 2020. A deal with the UK is paramount for Germany, and Merkel will use her influence with the bloc to ensure some kind of deal is done. In reality, the European Union's recovery will take much more than the €750 billion recovery fund. And again, we will see Mediterranean countries worse hit. What does Spain produce? German cars, olive oil, and tourism, that just about keeps it going, and that will take years to get back to pre-pandemic levels. And they still have over 50% of their under-25s unemployed. It's not a pretty picture when looked at closely. Italy entered the COVID-19 crisis in terrible financial shape. The country had built up an unsustainable debt burden, and 20 years of austerity didn't work because they didn't reform. More than 125,000 Italians leave the country each year, tending to be the best educated young single adults and new families. And everyone knows the story of Greece, a country that will be broke for years, thanks to their own greed and an unconvinced European Parliament. In reality, these Mediterranean countries are doomed. All the time they are tied to the EU, and the EU will be drained by subsidizing them. The euro restricts their ability to print or borrow money, and the circle will continue. So, where does Boris go from here? Well, cleverly he's put the ball right back into the heart of the European Commission. People have argued that the UK would be the big loser in a no-deal outcome. Well, maybe that was correct 2 years ago. But now we have a pandemic, and the financial impact of such. The EU need the UK more than ever, not only for funding their open checkbook spending needs, but for exports that would be downgraded, and job losses that will undoubtedly follow. Their need is great, and they understand that the economic recovery measures Boris can put in place, once he unlocks our doors and things get back to normal, frightens the EU more than fish stocks. And a strong economic UK will show other bloc members the way forward. But it's all just sparring, like two heavyweights taking the ring, and political positioning. Negotiations will still continue, there will be no mobile phones switched off. The pressure would build on Macron and, eventually, he will back down on his position, stating words like, best for the Union, and, for the good of Europe. Of course, like any politician, he will reap the rewards in other ways. The most important thing for him, is that he lands lightly, realigning his political stance with his fishermen. The European Commission will see to it that countries losing percentages of their fishing quotas, are compensated for the next 2 to 3 years, before setting their sights on the level playing field, and the real sticking point of the negotiations. This will be where Boris has to really hold his ground, as sovereignty is paramount for the British public. Any deviance here and there will be worse to follow for our illustrious leader, and the Conservative Party. Our laws and governance are far more important than fish, and this could well be the point of no return. This could be the time that Boris throws away all and any agreements, or just calls the bloc's bluff once again. The withdrawal agreement is seen to be a backdoor for the European Commission, to continue their interference with British laws and sovereignty, and this may well be Boris's opportunity, to rescind its implications, once and for all. This would be the final brick in a no-deal wall for the bloc, and world trade rules would be the only way forward. No more positioning, no more negotiating, just a clean break from Europe. To many a victory, to some, a nightmare. But whatever the consensus, a sovereign Britain. Thank you for watching and listening, and please subscribe.